Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the weekly preview brought to you by Aman Talks, NRL SuperCoach, and Wicky AI. We're taking a look at round 12, the best trade-in targets, captaincy, vice captaincy, all that good stuff. Nicole, how are you going? We were just chatting before we recorded about how you weren't at Magic Round, and I was. So
Yeah,
hopefully, I don't feel too jealous talking about that. But how was your round 11, even if you weren't in Brizzy?
yeah. Round 11 was all right. Like it was kind of funny seeing all the the vibes on Twitter, on Discord, like just all over the rugby league sort of community about Magic Round. But no, I'm super happy for everyone that was there. It seems awesome. I was just saying, I went to the first ever one and I was a bit too drunk and a bit too all over the place to probably take it in. But yeah, very keen. I'm hoping to be there next year. And everyone that was there said it was an absolute blast. And super happy you got to be a part of it. The team, not so well. I think I am ranked 26,695. How about you?
Yeah, I had a green arrow last week. I had a decent week actually. I scored 1375, so I think went back up to 13K. I used
Nice.
my last boost, but I think it worked because I got in Dom Young finally.
Yeah.
I got
Wow.
in David Armstrong as well, who scored very well,
Mm.
and I got in Sam Walker, who that was more to free up the funds going Cleary down to him. That let me go from like I sold Taylor May and Trey for Armstrong and Dom Young, so I think those are pretty good moves in the
Mm.
end. No more boosts left, but I do own Blaise Salungi, which is good. Although I didn't play him, I was kind of tempted to play him, but look, I was happy enough seeing him score 100 points, even if he was on my bench, because I knew that the money would be incoming very thick and fast. And
Mm.
I mean, we may as well talk about him first. He is the number one most traded in player, just edging out Dillbags. We've got two Premier Eels players, number one and two, which is surprising considering how the Eels are playing at the moment. They've just sacked their coach as well, Brad Arthur. But I guess for Supercoach, I can see the reason why. You got Blaise Lange, negative 68 break even, playing at fullback, first of Bunnies. Great matchup as well this week. And Dillbags has just got his halfback dual status added as well. So I know a lot of people from last week were holding on to Cleary and maybe looking at selling into Dillbags this week. We'll circle back to Talangi first. Do you own him at the moment?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to have him from a few weeks ago. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, good. Yeah. So I held on to him. And this is the luck, right? Like I think anyone who sold him, you weren't unlucky. I think that was a fine move. You thought he was out of the team. He just happened to come back at fullback and Gutherson went out and he just
Yep.
killed him. So this is part of the luck of the game as well. So it is nice to get a bit of rub of the green at the moment by having him.
Yeah.
He's 410K. He's negative 68 break even. He will cover round 13. So Clint Gutherson, I think, is expected between round 13 to round 15. Just having a quick look as well at the upcoming run. You got Rabbitohs this week, obviously, is great, but then in the bye week, you do have the Sharks, but look, it's a handy number in round 13. And then if he does last until round 14 as well, he's got the Bulldogs as well. So, like, what are your thoughts on him in general? Like, do you think people who've sold, do you think it's okay to go buy him back again? Do you think is one that you might have to let through to the keeper? Maybe as well. And I don't think he's in the top 10 traded in because he's on a buy this week, but say like a David Armstrong. He's probably got
Mm.
better long-term job security as well. So people may only have space for one of the two. So what are your thoughts on Talangi? And maybe if you had to compare him and Armstrong, who would you want to lean if you could only maybe say one of them? So I know I asked the hard questions, but
Damn it. I had
some
an
people
answer
are
ready.
like,
I had an answer ready for your first question, and then you asked me a harder one. I
okay.
think, look, with Talangi, it's really interesting from the eye test point of view, right? He played a game at center on debut and he scored a really good try. That's like you can't see that much of a player when they had most of their stars there and he was in the centers, right? Then he played at 5'8". I think the Eels lost that one. He kind of looked out of his element a little bit. And I think he got benched after that and then dropped. So, like,
Yep.
honestly, from an eye test point of view for a rookie, you got to be a pretty obsessed NRL fan to make much sense of his first 3 or 4 games. But as soon as he's then gone to fullback, the last 2 games, at 93 and 102, it's not just the points, but it's the way he's playing. Like he's really brought a different element to Parramatta. He also had a try taken away because of some forward, like an obstruction or something like that. So he actually could have got even bigger. I think it was in round 10. So yeah, to cut to the point, I would say Talangi is almost a must trade. There is a chance that Gutho comes back in, but I just don't see how he would. He'd have to come back in, get the fullback spot, and Talangi would have to be dropped when the Eels outside backs generally are going bad and they've just lost their coach and their season's pretty much done. So I would say Talangi is pretty much a definite or almost a definite trade in. But then the harder question you asked was Talangi v Armstrong. And Ponga's obviously a much longer time period away. Hodgson, Bailey, or whatever his name
He'll
was.
be there until like more than round 20. I think maybe
Yeah,
is when that's
I
at
think,
the first we might see Palmer. So the next like
yeah.
8 weeks, you're still happy. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I hope you can split them because I can't. I would say for most people you should be looking to trade them in. I can see like a Taylor May, maybe an Origin player, maybe a cheap player who like a Schiller. Like I actually got rid of Schiller. I was one of those people that just didn't know what to do with him, and I got rid of him this week. So I think like there's either like cheap guys who aren't playing, duds who haven't worked out, Origin players. There's so many different options of guys you could trade out. So you could go to Lungi this week, Armstrong the next. I really can't split them. How about you?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, just looking at some of the most popular trades. So Taylor to Talangi is the number 2 most popular trade. I think it's a great trade because similar price, Taylor could be out indefinitely, and you make a lot of money. And I think watching Talangi live at fullback against Melbourne, he looks very confident there, very secure. I think when he was playing in 5'8" centre, he wasn't quite, I think, in his element. Fullback does look like it is his spot. So I think even just for this week as well, like honestly, I was even dabbling with maybe putting a captaincy or vice captaincy into like a fullback versus the Rabbitohs is a great matchup based on how the Rabbitohs have been defending this season. So I think Talangi is a really good trade in this week. If I had to rank him and Armstrong, I think what I said on Tuesday was I prefer Armstrong because I think the long-term job security is there compared to Talangi. But obviously, Armstrong is not an option this week. At worst, if you brought in Talangi this week, Gutherson's back next week, you can at least still pocket over 100K. You can just go hypothetically, I know it's burning trades, but Talangi to Armstrong next week, and you made 100K, go down to another cheapie making another 100K. Like it's an extra trade that you're using, but you are getting, you're kind of making one extra trade to get Talangi in, then Armstrong to make that extra 100K cash, which is pretty useful when you're looking at now the Origin period. Guys like Joey Manu, who we'll talk about as well, very expensive, but could be musts during the Origin period, or maybe like Dylan Edwards if he doesn't get picked for New South Wales as well. So I think I know we don't always say we say you don't have to chase every cheapie, but I think there are very expensive players that people will be wanting to have. So I think there's nothing wrong with collecting a bit of cash in the next couple of weeks to be able to help you with those trades. So yeah, I really like Talangi this week as a trade, and I think anyone sitting with Taylor May RTS, I definitely would be moving to him. We'll quickly just skip Dylan Brown for a second, maybe on Suafa'alongo. He's the other cheapie, I guess, of the week in the fullback or centre wing spot. So he's a little bit cheaper at 390K. He's got a negative, I want to say negative 4 break even.
Yep.
I think with him, job security is similar, I think, to say Blaise Solangi. So I think Pappy should be back around round 15 to round 17 is what I've been hearing. So you'll still get a few more weeks out of Fa'alongo. Doesn't play round 13. So if you're looking at your round 13 numbers, maybe you need to go with someone like a Talangi. If you're okay for round 13 or you already own Fa'alongo, if you already own Talangi, then maybe Fa'alongo is an option. The one thing I just find with him compared to, say, Talangi, both playing at fullback, I think Fa'alongo is just much more attacking stat reliant. So I'm going to have a quick look at the fantasy stats here. So he was really good against the Eels last week, but scored 90 points. But if you look at that, 2 tackles plus 24 in runs, that's 26 in base. You compare that to Talangi, who I had before, he was hitting about 33, 34 because he had more tackle busts as well. You can see with Fa'alongo, most of his points last week came in line break assists, had a line break himself, had a few tackle busts in there, but he needed a lot of attacking stats to get to the 90 points. So that's my concern with him. I think that he does rely a bit more on the attacking stats. Manly away isn't maybe on easiest matchup on paper. The run in between during Origin is good, but as we said, you might only get 14, 15, and then Pappy could be back. And then there's some talk that maybe he goes back to the wing, but I can't see Xavier Coates or
Warbrick
Warbrick.
and Coates.
Maybe it fills in for during the Origin period. But yeah,
Yeah.
Fa'alongo, I don't mind. Definitely, if you've already owned Talangi and Armstrong and you want to get some extra cash in, then Fa'alongo is great. But I think I'd be prioritizing Talangi and Armstrong, I think, over him.
Yep.
Any other
Yeah, just one quick thought very quickly. If you don't watch all the rugby league games and you don't follow it obsessively, I thought of a really good comparison. Look, for people who do watch it pretty closely, these comparisons aren't spot on, but I'm just going to throw it out there, right? So between Fa'alongo, Talangi, and Armstrong, I would say Fa'alongo is like a young, like a Drinkwater type, where he's like, yeah, fast and stuff, but really creative. Talangi would be like a young, like Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, like, good agility and footwork and strength as well. And Armstrong reminds me of like a young Josh Dugan, like a wiry frame but super fast. Like that, I think he scored 3 tries and 2 of them
3
pretty
tries? Yeah.
early. last game. Yeah, freakishly. Like he's not super powerful, but just like really fast and that can like
Really
break
zippy,
through.
really zippy. Good. He had great support play.
Zippy is
Like
a good word. Yeah,
he did exactly what a fullback should be doing in those half breaks, line breaks. He's the one in support, and he's the one who gets those runaway tries. So,
100%.
yeah, very impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so very quickly with those three, you probably have one of the three already, and you probably want to get one of the three this week, and I think it's okay to potentially get Armstrong next week. So I think it sounds or feels a bit odd, but these three are like, they're not just any cow, they are all three fullbacks available at center wing, all at cheap prices, all that are going to make money. And look, if you're stuffed for trades and it's not the right move for your team, fair enough. But I reckon you want to have at least two of these three and then just weigh up which two it is depending on your team situation. But they are done players that pass the eye
Yeah,
test, is my last point.
they're all very playable. That's the difference. You
Yep.
can play all of them in your 17. They're not like maybe like a Jacob Cow type cash cow where you get him in for the money, but you don't really want to play him in your 17. All of these guys are very playable. Like Talangi for sure, 100% will be a very heavily played option this week. On deal bags, we skipped over him. Number 2 most traded in. I do think that if you're selling Cleary, you can go straight to deal bags, free up about 100 something K. I think that's a pretty good move. Now that he's got the dual 5'8" halfback, he'd be my number 1 option if you're looking for around that gun category. Matt Burton could be a really good option against the Dragons this week, but it's just this origin risk. Like I think, and one of the other messages I'll say as well, like if you can save trades this week, it's a good week to save. Just sit in your hands, see what happens with those origin squads. Next week, even if you don't have a boost, you will be able to use 3 trades in that round 13 bye week. So it's almost like you're getting a boost for free next week. So I think you can afford to sit on your hands a little bit this week. But Dillbags obviously is someone who you can be rest assured of won't play Origin. He's a Kiwi, plays 13, and crucially plays round 14 as well. I think him and Talangi actually are forming a pretty good combination as well. Just they seem to be having pretty good chemistry. And whenever Moses is back, I think they'll be good for Dillbags anyway. So I think he's just someone who you can get at 100K discount to a starting price. We know he's a gun and almost a season keeper with Munsters being out. He's probably one of the top 2 5'8s. Easy trade, I think, to him this week. But there are number 6 and 7 actually some cheaper options. Let's go to them straight away because I think now that we're talking about the halves, because this is something that came up quite often on Tuesday in my stream. People asking about would you go KO Weeks or like Tyron Wishart? 2 names I did not think I'd be talking about at the beginning of the season, but that's the beauty of SuperCoach. It just throws all these random crazy things at you. So both of these guys are available at halfback as well. Wishart is available at halfback. KO Weeks is available at 5'8". 348K, 382K for Wishart. So one thing I actually don't mind, if you already own deal bags and you're selling a Cleary this week, I put out some numbers on Tuesday, and it's very obvious, but like I think so far the position to target this year has been the centers. The centers have just been absolutely killing it. Like if I just go on screen here, the top averaging players, you've got Edwards and Hines number 1 and 2, so you've got a fullback and a halfback. Braden Burns will excuse him; he's only played the 1 game. Fafita is in 3rd, but then you've got Manu centre, Dom Young centre, CNK, he was a centre last year, Lomax centre, Latrell fullback. You got Val Holmes centre, you got Garrick centre. Basically, my numbers were that there were like 10 centres who were averaging over 70, which was more than any other position, or pretty much matched by fullbacks. So that's at the moment where you want to be spending your money, I think. And with halfback, if you're really not sure and you're already on deal bags, I really don't mind the idea of going down to one of these 2 cheapies and using that bulk cash to go like stack your center wing, get like a Manu, get a Lomax if he doesn't play Origin, get like a Dom Young, get an Osako, get even a Val Holmes maybe once he's not playing Origin. There's so many other good options that I've missed there. Like these cheapies are there too. Like centers is just such a stacked position. I really feel like it's the place that you can afford to spend a lot of money. So just a more broader thing, I don't actually mind going down cheap to like a Weeks or Wishart. Because at the moment, apart from Hines, halfback, you got Burton, you got Dillbags, probably your guns, and I guess Sam Walker as well. But I'll quickly just follow on there. In terms of Weeks and Wishart, do you have any thoughts on either of those 2? If you again, I'm going to throw, if you're getting one of the 2, is there one that you maybe have a slight preference for? I actually do have a preference. So if you're stuck, I can answer. Otherwise, I'll throw it to you first.
If you have a preference, let's go with you. What do you think?
crazily enough, mine is actually Wishart. So I think he's
Oh,
playing for
yeah.
a better team in the Storm. He doesn't play 13, but I think what I'm finding is that most people's teams are pretty well set up already for 13. But 14 will be an issue because we're stacking up on Roosters players. If you get K Weeks, it's another Raiders player. And then if you've got the likes of a Max Plath, you've got a Nasako, he also misses round 14. So Tyrone Wishart doesn't play 13, but he will play round 14. Got a negative break even of -7, not as big as K Weeks, who I believe has got -28. But the thing I like about Wishart is it's a really good run during the period that Munster is out, because he's out for pretty much all the Origin period. So he's going to be out until at least round 20. So you're getting Wishart for Manly, Knights, Warriors, Dolphins, Raiders, Tigers. It's a pretty good run, I think, in that period. And one thing with Wishart is if you look at his numbers from every time he's played at 6 or 7 in the last 2 years, he's got a really high work rate. Like he's had games where he's based at least 30, sometimes 38, sometimes even 40. So he's got a really good work rate. Playing for a gun team, so even if he gets a few attacking stats, what is he priced at? 382K. He could very easily get up to maybe a 550 and actually be able to deliver some decent points as well. So it might just be a really handy plug option during this Origin period. With K Weeks, my concern is that he did lose goal kicking. Eye test wise, he's probably more of an exciting player, a bit more attacking stat reliant. Wishart is probably more of your base stat oriented guy. So I just prefer the solidity, I think, of Wishart in that respect. And I think his dual of 5'8" halfback probably a bit more handy than the fullback 5'8" as well. So that's kind of why I was leaning towards Wishart. But K Weeks, he's got a bigger negative break even. So I understand why people are going to him too, but my preference is Wishart. Anything else now that I've given you my spiel?
No, I definitely agree with you. I actually think he's probably the safer option as well. Like no Munster for a long period of time. Hughes, I don't think he's going to end up playing this week. Pappenhausen out for the next 2 to 3 weeks at least, you'd say. Better team, you mentioned that. Funnily enough, like Weeks has had a couple of excellent plays in the last 2 games, I think it is now.
Yeah,
But it's the Raiders and they are stuffed. So like I actually love the Raiders. They're probably, if I had to pick a team, they're probably my favorite team. KO Weeks, though, I just don't think what he's doing is like repeatable. Whereas with Wishart, I genuinely think it is. So 69 and 67, and you mentioned he's lost the goal kicking weeks as well. Whereas Wishart, I feel like he's one of those guys where he, as long as he's starting and he's at or fullback, or he won't be fullback, sorry, but in the halves, he's one of those guys where he won't get as many touches when Hughes is back, but he'll just run and like he'll
yes,
make a
love
line
him.
break and a try. So yes, he's got better base. I remember hearing that on one of the other SC playbook. I think it was mentioned that or the Insight Boys. But yeah, regardless, Wishart is the way to go. I agree with you.
Yep. No, good stuff. I think we skipped Eli Katoa and Joe Manu. I think very quickly on Eli Katoa, like the way that the second row forward is looking right now, so I'll quickly put it up on screen as well. We just look at who's the best averaging second row forwards. At the moment, it's a position where you're going to have a lot of guys going for Origin. So for Feeder, Crichton looks like he's going to be playing Isaiah Yeo, top 3 averaging second row forwards, all likely going to be playing State of Origin and missing games as a result. Then you've got Eli Katoa, who's a Kiwi, so you know that he won't play round 13, but he will be available. Olaquatu, people think he'll be there. Hopgood probably on the bench for Queensland. Hudson Young's even a smoky. Carrigan, Jaden Stewart, McInnes. No, like literally,
That's ridiculous.
they're all likely Origin candidates. Eli Katoa is the only one who's probably not going to be featuring in Origin. So
Yeah.
it makes complete sense that I think during this period, he is the go-to second row forward to get into your squad. We talked about that draw already for the Storm during that Origin period. Even though if Hughes doesn't come back this week, I think if the team doesn't have Munster, but it does have Hughes, that's only good for Katoa because he plays off the right-hand side. He's going to be targeting him same way that Cherry Evans loves to target Olaquatu. Eli Katoa is going to benefit. I'm an owner. I've been owner for quite a while now, actually, and it's he's a very, very nice own because on a bad week he can get you 40 to 45 maybe, but generally you're more likely to get like he only needs a few big plays. Like he had a couple of runs last week where he would just bust a few tackles, got a line break, and then all of a sudden I'm like, yep, sweet, he's going to get me 70 to 75. Then you end up scoring that very, very late try to push him to 108, which is awesome. But there's not many second row forwards that can crack that 100-point ceiling. At the moment this season so far, it's probably Angus, Fafita, Eli Katoa, and maybe like an Olaquatu. I know Hudson scored a double last week to get 100, but they're the ones who most consistently you'd say would crack that 100. So yeah, Eli Katoa I think is a really, really solid buy if you've got the money and you can go to him. If you can wait a week, potentially you can also wait until say round 14 maybe. because he will miss round 13. But look, the 23 break even, you're getting him for probably a little bit of a cheap price at 720K. I can't knock the buy if you're looking for Qatar.
Yep, not totally fair. One thing I'll note really quickly, if you just scroll down, sorry. So Burden is showing up as the ninth most on the right, sorry. Would traded in. Yeah, Karapani, there's just no point. Like, just what you've got so many other options. So do not touch him is my advice, because you've got so many others at the top there. Burden is another one. Like, there's a small chance he gets the 5'8" spot for the Blues, a tiny chance he gets the center spot, an okay chance he gets the 14th spot, and an okay chance he gets the number 18 spot. He's literally fighting it out for 4 different positions. That would rule him out from playing he'd be with the state of origin side. So I think he's another one where you do not want to be touching a $759,000 player in SuperCoach when there is a pretty good chance that he'll be in state of origin. So yeah, that's a simple
So if he, assuming he gets picked for origin, he'd miss round 13 against the Knights. He'd miss round 16, and he already misses round, and then he'd miss round 19. So he'd miss 3 games during that period, which isn't the worst. That's the standard for most of the Origin guys. There are some teams that are even worse. They're like Dolphins players. If they're an Origin player and they play for the Dolphins, like Hamaso, they miss like 5 games during the Origin period because their team plays the Origin weeks, plus they have extra buys thrown in within there. But yeah, I'm actually I know this is not quite SuperCoach, but on Origin, like with Matt Burton, I feel like I was pushing for him to be the 5'8", which I still am, but I'm getting more and more of a sense that it's going to be like a Cody Walker, potentially at 5'8", and then Matt Burton might be at center. Like, I just look at Burton, I'm like, this guy surely is an Origin player. Like, I feel like they need to give him the chance, get him with Hines in the halves, and I think that would be a good combination. But look, Cody Walker was good, I guess, in game 3. But anyway, small little.
Yep. I think just one note, I won't put my opinion in, but I think generally with how many injuries there are to key players and the fact that we've got a new coach, I think this season's Origin is just about the storyline, the soap opera. It's kind of like the 2020 end of season, or 21, whenever it was, the end of season.
Yeah, 2020.
When it's just super random. I think that's what this season is going to be like. There's just going to be so much. The teams this week for the NRL are a joke in terms of how many players are missing out. And then you take Origin players out of that. I love it because for our punting stuff, it's gold because we know a lot of the players that people don't, et cetera, et cetera. From SuperCoach, if you're someone who hasn't played SuperCoach for many years and you're relatively new to this, don't be disheartened. This is the most fun part of the year when obviously, there's some excellent content creators out there for SuperCoach these days, but like this community, whichever community you're a part of, they will help you through this. And it's actually the most fun part because a lot of people do give up and they're playing for head-to-head, etc. We can shoot up thousands of ranks. So yeah, super pumped.
Yeah. The buy period is always a great time to try to push ahead and plan a little bit better, and hope that planning does put you in good stead. So we didn't talk yet about Joey Manu at number 5. I think he's one guy who I don't have in my centers, so I'm really scared about. I'm probably not going to be doing trades this week, but again, it's a question of who's going to be the fullback for New South Wales. If it's Edwards and Teddy's playing fullback, I might skip Manu next week. But if what I think will happen is if Teddy gets picked and Manu's at fullback next week versus Cowboys in round 13, my God, I will probably just have to find a way to get him because he will be the most captain player. We just know what a freak he is when he plays at fullback. Like, he'll base 70, something
400
stupid.
run meters.
Honestly, he'll probably get 350 run meters as par. And so, like, I can't knock him as a buy this week. If people are looking to him this week, because his break even is pretty manageable. It's a break even of 77. So even if he punts out like 60, 65, he's going down like what, 10K? It's not that bad. So like, I was really hoping that he would go back down in price, but he's gone up so much since on his starting price, and I've just missed out on him. So, excuse me, he's already 20% owned as well. He'll be a very scary person to not have in round 13. And the Roosters run during the Origin period is unbelievable. So I'm starting to think that if he is fullback, I'm just going to have to rip up my side somewhere and just have to get him in. Because Cowboys in 13, we know they can't defend. Round 14 obviously is a tricky week, so you just got to be careful that you can field a team in 14. But look, he could deliver you 200 points as captain in round 13 anyway, so then you might be okay with round 14. Parramatta round 15, they can't defend. Bulldogs in 16, Bulldogs are improving, but even then.
Well, Bulldogs in 16, they could be without Matt Burton, but they could also be missing Jamin Salmon to Origin as well, which would be huge. So
yeah. Then you got
Sorry, I had to throw that in.
then you got Tigers in round 17, Dragons around 18. Like
Damn.
the draw during the Origin period is just ridiculous. So this is one of those things where I'm like, if Manu's playing fullback against Cowboys, Bulldogs, and then Tigers, Dragons, Parramatta at center, like almost must have. So, and
Yeah,
especially like I
100%.
know people, yeah, and I know like I've got Dom Young, and so like at least you're getting some benefit from that right side, but don't look at it. I'm kind of thinking, don't look at it so much as, oh, I've got one, so I'm okay without the other. Think of it as, if I have both of them, I'm going to be profiting so much if I have both
Mm,
of them. That's, I think, more the line of thinking. When you try to, like, the whole concept of stacking, I think it's more of a thing in maybe the NFL. But
yeah.
if you can stack players together who just give each other attacking stats, it's always the best. Like, worked well for me in 2022 when I had both of Sean Lane and Dylan Brown. They were just kind of feeding each other the ball, and it was really paying off well. So I can see this very similar thing happening here with Manu and Dom Young. It's just unfortunate that they're both extremely expensive, but with that
Yeah.
draw, yeah, I think can't knock Manu as fifth most traded in. If he's at fullback next week, I expect him to be number one. Put it that way.
100%. Yep. And I think just one last note, I won't add on to that. You made some great points, and I agree with pretty much everything. The way I think you should be going, though, is you lock in a Talangi and or Farlango and or Wishart / Weeks, whatever your preferences are. But like lock these guys in now because you kind of know, well, you do know that they've got the spot for a few weeks. They're going to go up in a lot of cash and hope for a quiet Manu week. But it's irrelevant because why not wait for the Teddy news? Because if Teddy is playing and Manu is at center, then it's almost like he still is a really good buy, but he's not like an absolute, you have to get him in
Yep.
buy. But if you get all the cheapies in now, they go up in money, you build up a bit of a war chest, you're 100% going to be trading in Manu if Teddy is playing Origin, Manu does go to fullback. So that's how I would play it. Be patient this week, be smart, and then go crazy with the knowledge of the Origin teams and what's going on next week.
Yeah, I think next week, obviously, we'll be looking at trade targets for just who are playing that round 13 week. And the discussion is just going to be who are the guys who are going to hurt you the most. And because like I think I've actually got like 16 players for next week. So I'm actually already set for 13. But when you get to that point, you're probably thinking about quality, not
Yeah.
quantity. Like I could have 16, but if I don't have like a Manu who's gonna be mass captain, gets 150, well, what good is it if my other guys can't match it, right? So that's kind of the thing as well. You could have 12, but have Manu
Yeah.
captain, and you might be just keeping up with everyone else who's got 13, 14.
Mm.
So that's one of the other things too. Speaking of other
Sweet.
kind of round 13 options, you've got JMK, number 8. So he's the most traded in hooker this week. I think the benefit with him, obviously, is that he's also not going to be eligible for Origin, covers all of the 3 major bye weeks. He's been pretty solid over the last few weeks as well. So 81 last week, 60, 52, 70, 79. Like it's a good 5 round average of about 68, which is kind of what we thought he could provide at the beginning of the season. Granted, he's been pretty solid most of the year. Like he's had one down score of 42, but season average of about 65. Like I think I think he's the best hooker to have during Origin because I think Grant is
Yeah.
obviously going. Robson, I'd say, is a decent chance as well. Appy has not been as great, but Appy could maybe be more of a value option if he doesn't play for New South Wales because he's in the 400Ks now as well. But if you're looking to spend up, yeah, JMK is probably the guy who I'd be for sure recommending. Any thoughts
Sweet.
on him in particular?
No, but I will say that I flukily got Connor Watson a few weeks ago when I think Appy was ruled out
That's
for
right.
the
You
week.
did mention this. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't claim that. Like that was honestly a fluke. But I needed oh crap, I need to fix that up. Anyways, I needed a hooker this week because I had Connor Watson, sorry. And he's ruled out for a few weeks. And I actually went to Brandon Smith as like a little potty, oh, he's lost so much money kind of move. And then when you like I was actually thinking JMK was like the normal option to go to. And when you mentioned what you just said about JMK, I just updated my trades just there and brought in Marshall King. I can't be taking risks because the thing is, you're going to be making quite a bit of money with your center wings if you listen to us and you're bringing in your Falongos, your Talangis, and whoever else.
Sorry about that, guys. We're just going to do a bit of internet problems. Look, my microwave, it was me. My microwave is always just the biggest issue. This is the joys of being when you do stuff on YouTube. You've got to get the best internet. Otherwise, certain things will screw it up. Like my microwave, as plenty of the viewers will know. We'll kind of round out our chat about on captaincy though for round 12. So I'm a bit surprised. So I've got the on screen the most popular captains, and I've sorted it by top 10%. Nico Hines, 26% captain. Look, I know he's been absolutely killing it in the last few weeks. He's got like a 5 round average of 120 plus, I wanted to say. But just versus Penrith, I know it's at home, but just Penrith, I just don't think are a team I ever want to captain my players against because they're just the best defense. And we've seen this over the last like 3 years. I'm kind of looking at Nico Hines at 26% is maybe like if you have really no one else, a very safe option, but kind of thinking he actually could be an option to go against him and maybe hope that you can swing against Hines, who's got a tough matchup and see what works for you. But yeah, what do you think about Hines being the most popular captain?
Yep, definitely agree with you. I think I'm getting to this point now where I realize have you done top 10%? You have. Okay. I think it
Yes,
might
yeah.
just be people's laziness. They just leave, or not laziness, but they don't
Yeah.
overthink it and they just leave it on a player. But I think by far, and I'm shocked that Reece Walsh is only 5%. Because that was my first choice. I was like, he's playing the Titans, who are
Yeah,
absolutely
that is
depleted.
shocking. I
So
think
yeah.
maybe people have yeah. I think it's because of he's had some concerns, but it sounds like he's going to be fine. There's some news coming out today that he's actually looks like he'll be ready to play. And if I had Reece Walsh, I think he'd be my captain. Goal kicking versus the Titans, who've considered, I think, the most tries to opposition fullbacks. He would hands down be my captain, I think, if I owned him this
Yeah,
week.
drink your Walsh are my two. What about yourself?
Hmm. Yeah, I'm on Drinkwater at the moment, so I've captained him the last 2 weeks. It's been okay, 59, 76. So if he keeps stepping up, hopefully I'm getting close to 100. He was very close to scoring a try at the very end of that game against the Bunnies as well. But yeah, he plays 6 o'clock on Friday, so it's fairly early, but I'm just looking at it as who do I think my team's got the best chance of going 120, 130 plus. I don't know Dylan Edwards, so I don't know Manu. I don't know Fafita, so I'm thinking it's Scott Drinkwater for me. He's 21% captain in the top 10%. So I think that to me kind of makes sense. I know the Tigers haven't been terrible, but they did concede a fair few tries to. They conceded 2 tries to Hamiso, just straight through the middle. Same thing could happen with Drinkwater. So yeah, I'm looking at Drinkwater as someone who got 2 tries just against the Rabbitohs for 76 last week. I can see him getting 100 plus in this game. I know I've said that the last 2 weeks, but again, still that's my gut feeling. So yeah, I'm pretty keen to keep the captaincy on Drinkwater. That limits my vice captains though to like early in the rounds. So I think on the vice captains, um, I'm looking at saying that Bulldogs Dragons matchup. Burton 6%, Lomax 6%. I actually own Jacob Carraz as well, so Carraz is currently my vice captain just to catch that early game.
Love it.
Any other options you think from like some of those early games that you think could maybe be a VC shout?
Yeah, I reckon Lomax is a good shout. Like just again, like if you're captaining Drinkwater, you want to kind of, well, you have to go VC from tonight, the Thursday night Dogs Dragons game. And Lomax, yeah, I don't know. Just I would just go with your gut. Like you've got a lock as Drinkwater as your captain. But I think I've got Reece Walsh as my captain, and I went Isako captain last week, last round, which killed me. I was so happy
Oh,
about that, and obviously it backfired.
yeah,
But yeah, I think between Drinkwater and Walsh, you're sweet, and just go with someone for the lols tonight and just enjoy it. Yeah,
yeah.
I'd go Lomax.
I mean, if you own Edwards, look, he's 15%. I think that's fine because he's goal kicking. We know he's got a solid floor because he's got a really good base. So even if he gets no attacking stats, if you goal kick, he's probably going to get you to about 60, 65 anyway. But Sharks have been one of the best defenses so far this year. So I'm kind of trying to just avoid that matchup, which
Yeah,
to me looks as though it's the Cowboys matchup. Looks good. I think that Parramatta Rabbitohs game also has plenty of points in it as well. So definitely, I think if you're a Latrell owner, I'd actually be tempted to captain Latrell. I've got Dillbags, but just without goal kicking, I feel like Dillbags is someone who I'm happy to get like 65 to 75 a week, but I struggle to see what games he'll get like, 100, 120. That's the reason why I haven't gone him. And look, Blaise Langi, we spoke about him as well, playing at fullback could be an option, but like there's part of me just that thinks Parramatta in general, they've just sacked their coach. Rabbitohs have lost the last couple of games looking a bit better. I feel like the Rabbitohs could win this one, and I'm
yeah.
just not sure Talangi is the guy who I want to be trusting. So I think at the moment I'm happy to stick it on Drinkwater. Fafita is a good shout as well because we know he's rock solid. Like it's you 8 points doing nothing pretty much.
100%. And just one last note I'll make real quick around Walsh and Drinkwater. The Tigers already you can see their backline, like you will not recognize half of the names. But on top of that, Samuel Afinu, the left edge second rower, and Galvin are both, or Galvin apparently is set to be ruled out, but it's
Yes.
not confirmed. And Samuel Afanu limped off, or like came off late last week. And there could be even more chaos there, which might mean Coruscant moves, etc., etc. A whole bunch of Tigers chaos. And similarly with the Titans, we already knew that they were busted. On top of that, they lost Jolliffe, who's been really, really strong for them. And I feel like they lost one or two other guys. So yeah, and Walsh has the goal kicking. I think it's 2 p.m. Suncorp game as well. Like that is just the dream matchup.
Lovely.
Is that right? Yeah, I think it is.
I don't actually know. Let's have a look. We'll show my team. Why not?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, 2 o'clock on Sunday. That's
there you go.
One player I've just thought about as well. If you want a VC or captain, I know it's Melbourne, but they conceded 100 points to a fullback last week. Ruben Garrick, no cooler anymore. So Garrick, you'd think would have to go to fullback. He's goal kicking. Could be a shout as well. I think I don't mind him if you're looking for a captaincy later in the round. I don't mind VC Garrick either.
Nice.
If you're happy to go captain, say like Reece Walsh, and you've got Garrick in your centres, I think Garrick is also actually a pretty worthwhile shout. And as we saw, pretty much no one at the moment, I think, has got him for VC. So yeah, could be a nice little pod shout as well.
Love it.
Yeah, he's on 5%, so it's not super high. So Garrick into Walsh feels like the nice upside, both goal kicking but low percentage play. So that's kind of your high upside play. Your safe play is probably need to go, or maybe say a Drinkwater. But Drinkwater has his own risks to him. But yeah, I think he should be pretty safe this week.
I love it.
I think we'll probably wrap everything there. I think we've covered most things. Any final thoughts, Nicole?
Nah, that's all. I think, look, I know we've talked a lot about trading options and stuff, but just, I think I'll just go back to one thing I said earlier, which is this is the round to try to stick to 0-1 trades and make your decisions with a lot more info and Origin team announcements next week. But good luck, everyone. And as always, Google Wiki Linktree, Fantasy, SuperCoach, Punting. You can find all our rugby league stuff on there. And our Discord just cracked 4 grand recently, and I think we're at 4.2 now, so slowly growing. Yeah, but thanks again for doing this, and very jealous I wasn't at the Magic round, but I'm hoping this weekend will be just as good. But
look, it's Indigenous round, so it's another reason to celebrate.
Oh hell yeah!
So yeah, should be a great round of footy again. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll catch you all in the next one. Cheers.
Awesome.